I think VCs, generally speaking, don't have a good sense of how to tackle this shift. They've seen shifts time and time again in their markets, but this one's different. This one, how do you bet on the technology that's going to change in a week or a month or a year when you've got this huge disruption whirlpool happening over here?
Hello, fellow data nerds. My guest today is Jager McConnell. Jager is the CEO of Crunchbase, which he's led since it spun out of AOL Verizon in 2015, and it serves over 80 million users. I'm a huge fan, as probably most people who are listening to this are. Jager, welcome to World of DaaS.
Great to be here.
Really excited. Now, give us the current state of startup investing landscape right now.
Yeah, I mean, compared to the past, it's not that great, but compared to the recent past, it's doing pretty good. So, compared to, we're sort of at like 19 or 2019 levels of funding, but we're like more than half off of our peak in 2021. So even though there's huge rounds happening, we're nowhere close to peak.
And where is
venture.
that getting hit the most? Because from seed stage, it seems like the valuations are as high as they ever were. At least that's my anecdotal. So is that hitting like the Series B stage the most, or where is it hitting the most, or is it everywhere?
It's kind of peanut buttered over all of them. The difference is just there are fewer rounds. Or fewer deals getting done.
Got it. So the valuations of seed stage are still high. It's harder to get funding.
That's right. So so those valuations are going up and up and up, especially if you look at averages, because you've got these obviously OpenAI just totally skews the average in the wrong direction.
Totally. Yeah.
But it's the
average YC company is today raising money at a higher valuation than it was ever before, I presume, right?
That's 100% right. That's 100% right.
And does that just mean the reason why the valuations are still pretty high is that there's still a lot of money and they're chasing fewer deals, so therefore there's just a market, like a supply demand curve there?
I mean, there's a lot of deals that could be done. I think a lot of companies are not getting across the finish line.
Yeah.
So it is the best deals are certainly in a scarcity, and that's where people are bidding up these crazy valuations. But at the end of the day, if you have a company that certainly would have been funded in 2021, there's no guarantee you would have been funded today. And I think that's the people that are losing out, depending on your perspective.
My anecdotal is that there's kind of basically three types of rounds that are getting done. There's rounds where you have zero term sheets, so they're just not getting done. There's completely non-consensus, one term sheet getting done. And then there's the one where you have 8 or more term sheets. Yeah. Whereas I think in 2021, a lot of times you had the 2 to 3 term sheets happening in that. I don't know if you would agree with that or not.
No, it's certainly anecdotally, we don't really track term sheets, but sort of anecdotally, I hear the same thing where a lot of CEOs are saying, I just can't get a single term sheet at all, or they're so thankful they got that one, and they're going to go with that one because that was the one that at least they got the funding.
I don't know any company that gets 3. It's either 0, 1, or 8.
Exactly.
It's no 3 anymore. So it's most of these deals are complete consensus or complete non-consensus, but nowhere in between.
And I think and what I suspect that speaks to is I think VCs, generally speaking, don't have a good sense of how to tackle this shift. They've seen shifts time and time again in their markets, but this one's different. This one, how do you bet on the technology that's going to change in a week or a month or a year?
Yeah.
And certainly when you think about where my history is, right, with sort of enterprise SaaS, ex Salesforce here, how do you bet on a workflow tool? How do you bet on a thing that's going to make your workday a little bit better when you've got this huge disruption whirlpool happening over here, sort of sucking down any sort of competition down the road? It's a hard place to bid. So I think those one term sheets are either VCs who they're just praying and spraying. So they're just saying, I'm going to go and apply this to a ton of different potential deals. Or they don't know what they're doing. I hate to say it, but you find the one that hasn't quite figured this out yet. Because I think it's unlikely that you found the investor who saw the diamond in the rough that no one else could see. I think that particular narrative that you'll tell yourself is unlikely.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's in the super early stage where I usually invest. it's in kind of ways it's almost still the same, which is it's a big bet on the founders.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if you're betting in the Series B and the company's growing like crazy fast, as some of these AI companies are growing, it's very hard to model that because like it's not going to grow just that fast.
Right.
But
Right.
are these things going to churn, and how sticky is the revenue? So it's just like, so you're also you not only those guys, they might be consensus, they might be getting 8 term sheets, but the valuations of those term sheets could, one could be the highest one might be more than 2 or 3x what the lowest one is or something.
That's right. And I see the stream of deals getting done, and there's so much of I'm just like, what are these people thinking? Because I don't think people are, and I mean this across every aspect of every single person that is working today in tech, but like I just don't think we really truly grok what the difference is now. When a VC is investing in any tool, if they're not thinking that they need to exit within the next 24 months, because it doesn't make any sense to me. If I was starting a CRM tool that was like going to do better than Salesforce, whatever it was, that company won't exist in 3 years, 4 years. Maybe that may be controversial, but like the one that's starting to now, hey, we're AI first. We got to 10 million ARR with a handshake and 3 people that use Replit to go and build this thing. Like that thing, even if it has amazing proprietary tech, that thing is going to not exist in 3 to 5 years.
Why do you say that?
Because look at where we're going, right? If I can code a decent app myself today, right, and it will be okay. It's not that great, but it's a prototype. Mm-hmm. And in 1 more year, it's going to be a great enterprise class app. It's going to do everything I need it to do. If I'm an internal IT person at insert any company name here, and I say, oh, we really want the CRM system, but I need to do these 16 different things. Am I going to go and buy an external software to do it? Or will I just be the person who builds the custom solution inside? I really think we're going to shift back to internal apps that are custom, bespoke for the business that you're in, doing all the weird integrations.
I mean, that is what people traditionally have done with Excel and Google Docs. And, right. And so it's always unclear, like, are you, a lot of these companies are just things you did in Google Docs or Excel before, and now you're turning them out. And so I guess maybe it goes back and forth. Like the pendulum keeps swinging.
Because the AI,
I don't know that has to though, right?
Has to. I know. I disagree. Okay. It has to, because the AI is going to go and say, look, this would be so much better if you had these other features that you can go and build, and I'll just build it for you. And now you have this like continuously custom solution for your enterprise to go and do things. Why would I go deal with anyone else's roadmap? Why would I worry about you changing the things that I love or getting rid of the thing, or by the way, charging me some different price to go and maximize the spend that I'm doing? All of that goes away when I start using it internally.
At some point, like, yes, if it only takes one person to build, then sure. But I mean, most of these apps, like, they do require more than one developer full time. And if you just have more than one developer full time, it's usually a lot less expensive to buy.
Do you think that's true in 10 years? Like in 10 years, like there's no way you have an army of developers doing this. There's just no way. You might have an AI manager managing your AI engineering team. There's just we are necessarily going in that direction.
I mean, I am very pro AI, but I love your enthusiasm about all this stuff.
It feels like it's
right.
necessary.
In some ways, like that would be amazing, because there'd also be this like massive number of things, and then at that point, the price might come down. So then, instead of paying $200,000 for this enterprise thing, I'm paying $10,000. It's still cheaper than me doing it myself and hiring a full-time developer to do it. So it is possible that I'll go back the other way and there'll be all these like small companies, but that are making $100 million with 3 people or something.
No, that's right. I think that is where it ends up, and that's happening a little bit today, right? Like you hear these little anecdotes of these small companies that have hit 100 million in a short amount of time, or 10 million in a short amount of time. If I was that founder, I'd be selling tomorrow. Like it's great, good job. You got the bootstrap company. That business model is not going to be sustainable. Sell it. Sell the company to someone. You're going to make $200 million. Congratulations, get out.
And so you just think they're not going to be smart enough, or they're not going to be able to ride the curve. There's too likely things are going to be destruction. You say, hey, take the chips off the table.
The AI is going to be smarter than us. like that shouldn't even be controversial, right?
But
So
I mean,
you're
look,
like,
you run a company. I mean, it does data, but you run a
sure,
company today, and it's a pretty successful company.
sure.
And like, do you want to just like sell it right now or something? Like, yeah, the AI could probably do a lot of the stuff that your company does too, right? I mean,
That's 100% right.
yeah,
So the real question now becomes is what is the completely defensible thing? It
yeah,
can't be you did it first. It can't be like you thought of this cool
yeah.
process. It has to be what is absolutely completely defensible moat. And those are the only things that may survive. And you really have to analyze, cool, you have a very defensible thing. Is that truly a necessary thing for the future?
And what are the things you think are going to be so defensible to override the AI and stuff like that?
Totally biased opinion. I think proprietary like data that no one else can get in any scenario is truly the only thing that's going to matter in the end. If you can and by the way, it has to be changing data. It can't even be old
No, time
like
series
it has
data.
to be time series data. That probably is one of the only things. That and foundational model stuff, right? Like if you were building the building blocks of the thing, I think that does persist and make money, and people will pay their fair share
I
too.
mean, like most data, like there's substitutes or there's other types of data. So there's other things to kind of back into it and stuff like that. And like what would be an example of like, it's like, and obviously you have companies that sell like credit card data, and you have companies that sell this other time. We've had many on this, and these are fine companies, but almost none of them have become unicorns. Maybe they will in the future, but very few data companies have actually gone on to be just like, they've gone to be good businesses, but none of them have been like iconic businesses.
If you're enjoying this podcast, please sign up for our newsletter. Go to worldofdas.com. The link is in the description below. Now back to the video.
That's right, and I think that does change. I do think that again, but you need to have the equation of it is critical for the future, and I think a lot of people who have the proprietary don't fit that. Are there any of these companies? I don't know. Again, I'm a very biased person.
Yeah.
I think Crunchbase has at least a stab in this direction.
Sure.
And that's
part of the Crunchbase benefit is like, you have great data, but also has like amazing brand. Everyone's heard of it. It's got great SEO, so you can acquire customers for cheaper, right?
Sure.
There are other like huge, like yes, I agree. The data at Crunchbase is very good, but you have a lot of other things going for you too. I'm sure you have some super talented people. You have a great CEO, right?
Questionable, but the reality is those things are nice, and I don't take them for granted any day, right? That there's super powerful stuff, but I don't think it's powerful in the future. I just don't. I think like with us, funding data is already on the brink of being commoditized, right? I think we have the best, like the early stage stuff we get sooner than anyone else. Like, cool. That's true today, and that matters a little for some today. And then we have built a business on some of that stuff. We have competitors, but we also have people just straight up taking our data and reselling our data out the back. And by the way, when those factual pieces of data get into an LLM, they're there permanently.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So all I can play if I stayed with historical data is focusing on the ones that haven't yet been absorbed by the LLM. And that's just that isn't sustainable. So we as a business have to say, well, what else do we have as an asset that we can go and build on top of that's going to differentiate us now and into the future? So that's why I play with usage data, right? So the one thing that no one else has, certainly any of our competitors, even the LLMs, they don't have 80 million people using our stuff.
And what are they searching for? How are they searching? What are people doing with the data?
Even just view data. So and obviously I can't say what is Auren looking at, and hey, who wants to buy what Auren's looking at? But I can go and say what are investors looking at, right? And what
do they care about? How's that changing?
And down to the profile, like how are people looking at Blue Sky, let's say, as a company? How is investor traffic shifting on the Blue Sky profile over time? And when I go and look at that and compare it to the past, and I sort of look at the 17 years of data, and I say, well, how is this working? And then I layer in things like, how is that profile being edited? Has anyone edited the Blue Sky profile? Like, why would they edit it? So why are they editing it? And now I have a massive influx of investor flow. No one else has that data. So what can I build with that insight? And LLMs can't do it. LLMs won't be able to make that up.
Completely change your business model. Like right now, you charge for like the deep access to the data.
Right.
If you really cared about like the viewing habits and what people are doing, you'd give it away for free. You might even incent them to use it or something, and then
100% right.
sell the insights in the back door, right?
And I think, and that is we were at an exec offsite just last week. We were saying, like, how does our business model change with this new direction?
Oh, that's super scary because it's like, oh, we got all these like tens of millions of revenue that we may have to like
Right.
give away or something, right? Okay.
Right. Like for just full transparency, that self-service business that where people come in and buy a license to go and tool around in Crunchbase, that's really not going to be the focus. I still want them to have a good experience. I still want them to use the app, of course. But yeah, you're right. Behind the scenes, we're thinking, look, what other insights, what are predictions can we predict when a company is going to go out of business? Can we predict when a company is going to do layoffs? Can I go and take that and sell that to a creditor or to a bank, create a risk score? Like there's, and all those things are dependent on this very proprietary thing that no one else has access to. And I think that's where a lot of data companies are going to get wrecked, because if all you're doing is, we've got this secret way of getting data from that has a fact. Facts are all commodities.
How do you really believe that facts are commodities? Because in some ways, like whenever I'm looking things up, it's actually very hard to know what's true. And often things are wrong. Almost all data, if obviously data is always about these four nouns: people, places, companies, and products, right?
Yeah.
It's about one of those four nouns, like sometimes cross with the other, sometimes it cross with time and price, right? And the data is just like often completely bonkers. Maybe it was right at one point, but it's not right anymore. But often it's not right at all. I bet you there's a lot of databases that have marketing databases that have your stuff that say you're a woman. I mean, it's just like they're just so off sometimes. So is it just like okay, well, most databases will just get so much better in the future too, because part of selling data is that ideally it is true. Like that's one of the things you want to sell.
Yeah, and as a business that focuses on private companies that are by nature opaque, I mean that's a particularly bit hard challenge for us, and we have a lot of mechanisms in place to try to get to the truth, but we know it can never be 100% accurate. Do I think LLMs are going to do a better job in the future? Yep.
Yeah,
I do.
For sure. Make it easier to get truth. Yeah, they can, and they can check it in many different ways, or they can say this doesn't seem right.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it isn't just a Crunchbase thing. Everyone has this problem. Is IMDb, as just a random example, is IMDb going to be the source of truth of who's at what movies? Right, like that.
It's weird. Yeah,
that's weird, right? Like those are all factual historical things. So that will just be something you ask our LLM is going to tell you the answer. You never have to go and talk to IMDb anymore. And I think that's so true across every data set you can think of, unless you're getting it in a weird way, unless you're getting it in a way that can't be done by an AI. And that's where even like partnerships, at some point, people might just do partnerships with OpenAI, or an AI agent working for OpenAI is going to reach out to all the same places that did partnerships and say, would you rather give us the data? And they're going to say yes. And so it's just
like a lot of our companies are selling data to OpenAI, Anthropic, Perplexity, some of these other ones. Yeah.
And I don't think those companies are doing a good job at scale of making those partnerships yet. But as soon as they start using AI to figure out how to do that with their own BDAI agent, like your proprietary way, because you had 4,000 partnerships, it doesn't matter anymore.
I mean, you're scaring me because like in some ways it's like, okay, well, like it seems like 90% of our companies might not work now, and maybe I should just be like investing in like things AI is not gonna like tackle anytime soon, like I think it's a question, massage spas or something or whatever.
Like this is certainly maybe not that. This is the local doom and gloom. That's happening now. But the reality is there is an M&A market that's going to open up, because what people are going to realize is these larger companies are saying, well, how do I get this stuff into my products as quickly as possible? And so I can go and monetize this and then use our huge resources to go and push deeper onto this. So I do think the M&A market on data it's already hot. It's going to keep getting hotter as this becomes more and more apparent.
Is the M&A market, quote unquote, hot right now?
In data, I think in data it's doing pretty. It's certainly hotter than hotter than it was a few years ago. You see like Tegas and all this sort of stuff happening. Like this is a world that is figuring out the things I'm saying.
I have I mean, at least from what I've seen, I haven't seen it hot at all. Like, so that's why I'm asking. You have
Yeah.
much more data than I do, but I'm saying a lot of these data companies I'm saying are can't even trade for 4 or 5 times EBIT. Like it's really been hard for them to let alone 4 or 5 times the revenue.
There's some. I mean, there are some
Vegas
rules
being an
to be
exception,
successful.
right?
Yeah, I mean, there's rules that you need to have. And one of them again is how many people are in your market, right?
Yeah.
And how many buyers are there? Like in our, like just for fun, us, we have a ton of people who play in the company data space.
Yes.
Most of them are focused on the public company side.
Yeah.
A lot of them want to be in the private company side.
Yeah.
If they want to get into private companies, who are they going to buy? There's only a few options available.
Right. One of them was bought by Blackstone, right?
Right.
So, right. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So that's it.
There's not that many left. Yeah.
And when they're gone, they're gone. Right.
Yeah.
So like,
but that's where I like maybe some of these things. Like this is where I'm thinking. Like I think some of these things like brand do endure. Like I think part of the reason I want to buy Crunchbase is that brand is worth $100 million right there or something. Right?
Yeah. I mean, you're welcome to like. Well, actually, it would be a little bit worse if I said that. But the reality is that brand I think is a temporary thing. I like we're going to try to not be temporary, right?
Yeah.
But the gravity is going to try to pull that brand back down. And so we can't rest our laurels on the fact that 80 million people come to our site because those 80 million people might have a reason never to come to our site. So that's why we need to put things on it that no one else has and give you reasons to come that no one else can give you. And so back to your question, there are other data companies that maybe don't have that same dynamic, that there's a lot of people in the space and it's hard to differentiate between all of them. And there's not a lot of buyers because no one really wants I'm just making shit up, the baseball card anthology or whatever it is, the baseball card history of all time. Like, who cares? No one's going to buy that. So it just depends on what you are and what market you're in. But if you have one of these things that there's a limited quantity, it is necessary for the future, and these large public companies need it to get to their next level and to survive the AI wave that's coming for them as well, it's a great time to be in market.
Interesting. It's funny because like we have companies that are selling, and we have also companies that are trying to buy, and nothing is happening on either side. It's like the selling, they can't sell. No, there's no buyers to sell, but then the buyers can't find anything to buy because for whatever reason, like most companies are just like, they don't want to sell, at least for those prices. So like, well, I might as well just because they're all so profitable. AI has made all these data companies so much more profitable than they were. Now, maybe they have to start giving away those profits to customers soon, but at least for now, they're way more profitable than they were in 2023.
And this is why we've pivoted to what we're doing, which is trying to predict what companies are for sale, right? Which companies are going to be acquired soon is a whole area that we're not pushing into. So if we can predict what's going to happen next at a company.
Can you give me a list of companies to go buy?
100%.
Oh, that's great. I'll definitely, I'd buy that list. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good list. And so that's why we've said when people come to Crunchbase, they're already asking those sorts of questions. Is it like, which companies should I buy? Which companies are even going to be for sale? Which companies are in my price range?
So if I say like, okay, 3 to 20 million in revenue, this type of thing in data, with this level of complexity or something like that, you could just spit out a list of potential companies like in order of like ones that are most likely to be interested in me trying to buy them.
100%. Like that's
amazing. Okay, I should totally do. I can't believe I didn't know that. Like that's so obvious.
You should totally do that.
Yeah,
it's going to say these are the companies that we predict.
Vice versa. I want to sell. Who are more likely to buy my company? So then you don't need the investment banker in the future or whatever. Here's the list of the potential buyers. Yeah,
the banker does a little bit more than that, but that's right.
Yeah.
Like it would. So right now, we'll say which companies are most likely to get acquired. With some percentage next to it. On the UI, we'll just have a little bar chart, but in the API, we'll actually go and say not only what the percentage chance is, but also what are the drivers that we are looking at that made us decide that this company is up likely to get acquired soon. So that's step one. Step two, which is on our roadmap, is let's tell our users which are the most likely acquirers or which are the most likely companies you should buy, Auren should buy, right? And so we'll make it more tailored to the user itself.
I think you say for your company, here's the companies that are most likely to buy you, and we're going to run marketing campaigns to the exact people in those companies for you.
Exactly.
Like,
Right.
I'd pay 10 grand a month for that just to
Yeah.
always be in front of those people. Like, that sounds
Right.
amazing.
So that's where I don't personally know how an LLM can do a good job of that. All they can do is say, look at the historical and say it was about time for them to get acquired, or it's been a long time since their last funding round. But with that extra data of who's looking at it, what are they doing, what's happening on the page, there's a lot that we can sort of extract, and that's where I get excited. Like, that's true for me, clearly the future of where we're going as a business, and trying to find more of those predictions. Can we predict? I mean, we already have it. There's a growth prediction. Do we think the company is going to grow? Like that sort of insight. Again, can I predict with any sort of accuracy what we think a future valuation might be, for instance? So we're talking about like, how do we do valuation predictions, and like that's where things get more like. That's where Crunchbase actually does the valuable thing that you always wanted to do. Because when you were coming to Crunchbase before, those are the questions you were asking, and we're just giving you like one data point saying, well, here's the last funding round, and you would have to sort of figure that stuff out on your own. Now we're using thousands of feature vectors to go and figure it out, and it's way more accurate than people expect.
But I forgot to tell the audience, I am an investor in Crunchbase. So I do love the company, but I'm also like, I have financial incentives to love the company as well. Now, when I left San Francisco 3.5 years ago, moved to DC, and I think I called the bottom like perfectly.
Nice.
Right. And when I had left San Francisco, I thought, okay, people are going to be ambitious. People are going to be moving all over the country or all over the world. They're going to move to Miami. They're going to move to Austin. They're going to move to Berlin. They're going to move to Lisbon, and they're going to go start a company. And then fast forward to today, 2025, it seems like almost 100% of ambitious people I know who are 24 and they're in tech are moving to San Francisco. Like, if they're going to move, none of them are moving to Miami. None of them are moving to Austin. They're not moving to Berlin or Lisbon. They're moving to San Francisco. Do you agree with me?
100%. But it's also weird. It feels like a temporary thing to me. Like, this is easy to dispute and to debate. So I understand that I'm like right on the fence here, but it feels like people are saying, I need a certain set of skills right now, and I need to get to where those VC dollars are. And everyone moved out, so everything's a little cheaper. Cities, I think San Francisco is improving as a city.
Oh, yeah, it's way improving. Every
way
time
better.
It's amazing. I mean, it's like so fun every time I go there. The Waymos and everything.
Right. It's cool. Yeah. So I think there is this draw coming in. I think you're going to get some peak San Francisco again. Like, prices are going to get kind of crazy. And then again, controversially, I think the talent market. Talent isn't the reason you're in San Francisco anymore, because that becomes less important with AI's improvement.
You still might need a couple people or something, right?
Couple of people. I agree. Okay. And so I think that goes away. And then this is the part that is also controversial. Is I think VC funding maybe becomes less important. It's to be close to
that.
And
or just getting VC funding is maybe not as important. Period. Right.
Bootstrap companies are the new cool thing. So then I think
almost every data company we're involved with is profitable. Maybe it wasn't at one point, but it is today.
Totally. So I think the draws of going to San Francisco are then therefore the city itself, rather than anything else. And I think then you get back to, well, why don't I just move to Lisbon or somewhere else? So I think it's a temporary cycle.
I think it's a fleeting thing. Like, it's true today, but it might not be true in 2027, 2028 or something like that.
San Francisco is always going to be a popular city to live in. I don't know if it's going to be the tech hub of all tech hubs.
Like today, if you are an ambitious 24-year-old and you're in tech, you really care about tech.
Yeah.
You are 100% going to move to San Francisco. Now, if you're 44 and you've made $1 gazillion, you might move to Austin or Miami or something. But if you're 24 and you're ambitious, and you don't have a family yet, and you can live in a group hacker house or whatever.
Exactly.
Sounds super fun. Like, you're moving to San Francisco. Like, if you're not, you're just probably just not ambitious.
That's
like,
right.
When you meet people are like, oh yeah, I'm moving to Miami. I'm like, and you're 24, you're like, well, you're clearly not an ambitious person if you're moving to Miami and you're 24.
And then you have your first exit. You're like, the tax implications of that aren't as good as they should have been. Maybe I should
that's right.
reconsider.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So there's a lot of good reasons to not live in San Francisco.
But 5 years from now, I don't think it's gonna happen in the next couple of years. But 5 to 10 years from now, I think it slowly starts drifting back to just a beautiful city.
I called the bottom before, but you think there's another bottom to be? We're in like a new hype cycle right now.
That's right. I think we're in a hype cycle. That's right.
Interesting. Now, you posted a while ago, which I love. That so like I've now invested like in hundreds of startups, and I still have no idea what the difference between like a seed and pre-seed and Series A. And you posted that we should just get rid of all those things and just use the numbers. Like you did round 1, then you did a round 2, then you did a round 3.
I raised $15 million. Who cares what round it was, right? The arbitrary letters that we have done, and what drives me crazy when VCs are like, well, at Series B, I expect you to have X, Y, Z, like these particular things, and otherwise I'm not investing in you. It's so arbitrary. It's so silly.
Right. And that's maybe based on your valuation or something, right? That kind of makes sense. Yeah,
that makes sense.
$1 billion valuation, you should have certain revenue metrics and certain other things that are there. Yeah.
And this comes from a place of just, yes, Crunchbase has raised money. So therefore, we went through our series. Our last round was our Series D in 2022. When we spun out the company independently, we called that our Series A. And the reason we did is because we started with $8 million ish of sort of funding, but we had no customers. We had no product to sell. We had, by every metric of what a Series A company is, we did not have it. Yeah, we had a brand. Yeah, we had traffic, but that wasn't like we never had the thing that most Series A companies get judged on. Right. And then, so in the Series B and the C and the D, I was
like $8 million is a lot of money. But yeah, now some people call it a seed. It's like, I talked to a company today. They have already raised 10 million.
Yeah.
And now they're raising another 12, and that 12 is going to be their Series A. I was like, well, what is the 10? They did a 7 and they did a 3, and they're like, oh, that was a seed and a pre-seed or something. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, what? Okay.
Totally. If you've raised money, you should say, well, I need another $30 million. I've raised $20 million so far. Here's what we did with the $20 million and why we think the $30 million makes sense. And then investors should be like, cool, that's all I needed to know. Right.
It's like a public company. If there's a public company selling stock, it's not like, it's, or they're selling bonds or something. It's like, hey, we're doing, they don't have like a letter on it.
No, and so it is weird coming from Crunchbase, right? Because we track this, and like I've got a drop down menu that has these things. I could change that
Series A, right?
I could just delete that, and then we won't have to worry about it anymore. But it's so ingrained in how we talk about these things. It doesn't matter. But I am bearish on the whole thing. I think we also shouldn't celebrate big funding rounds. I don't think those are things that we should. I like if
hiring.
Yeah, all that stuff. I think just these metrics don't matter. In fact, if anything, it's a detriment to the business. Right? Yeah. So let's not celebrate them, and certainly let's think of smarter ways to talk about them than weird letters. Are you
managing your company, and you've seen people managing their companies differently with AI and et cetera? And how are you thinking about it?
Yeah, I mean that's probably the biggest initiative that is happening right now at Crunchbase is especially as a not company that's starting, right? We are a company that can't be built from the ground up. We've been around for a while. So how do we go and transform ourselves into an AI first company? And from internally, like how do we do the work? And I think there's a plague going on in all internal IT houses and all these companies where they say, well, no, we're AI first, we're AI forward because we have a ChatGPT subscription that we share around the office, and therefore our product marketing is being
helps
edited
us
by
learn how to debug our MySQL server instance.
Exactly.
Okay, you're AI first, totally. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So it's like this checkbox. We're like, oh, I bought the AI extension on Marketo, so like we've got AI. So that's not what it is, and to change people's mind frames all the way down to the IC level to say to themselves, my job is different now. Like it's complete. What I was does not exist anymore. I now need to become the expert on how to go and do my job better than anyone else using AI, and it's on me to become the expert to figure out what tools I should be using. Like that mind shift is a very hard one to.
Very few people are going to move to that mind shift. I mean, there's super talented people I've worked with forever that they're just never going to make it to that
Right.
mindset. But they're still adding some value. But
Today.
maybe they're getting overpaid, right?
Yeah,
So
that's right.
maybe they're getting paid X and they should be getting paid X over 2 because somebody who's getting paid X over 2 is using those tools and doing some of these other things that they're not yet doing.
That's right. Now, there's a real problem here is how do I possibly, as a, let's say, a product marketing expert, how would I possibly stay on top of every tool that's coming out? And I don't just get stuck to the one that's my favorite. And then I sort of stay there when there's 16 more that came out next week. Staying on top of that flow and trying them in a way that makes sense. I don't think anyone's figured out. I saw, Aaron Levy saying, hey, you can go and, no, it was Duolingo. So it was like, hey, you could go and spend 10% of your time just researching AI tools to help you do your job. Maybe that's a way to do it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, but there's
still,
I don't think
like,
we've cracked
not
it.
everyone's a good researcher. No one's good at that. Like maybe that's another pivot for Crunchbase. Maybe you can help me
True.
get better vendors or something like that, or like a G2 or something, and help me understand what I should be buying.
That's right. Like that is a very hard challenge, but I'll tell you the ones that figure out how to do it. And like when I go, if I were a product marketing person and I was applying to that next job, my pitch isn't going to be, I write great copy. My pitch is going to be, I know the best AI tools that makes me a 10X employee out of the gate. And you want me on your team because I'm going to infuse that into your product marketing
organization. What I want is not that I know the tools today, because those tools are going to change. So I'm so good at like evaluating and moving and completely. Is like the skill, the best skill, the number one skill for employees in like the past 100 years was the ability to like hire talented people, manage them, grow them, get leverage from them. In the future, like the most important skill is being able to select and manage vendors.
It's adapt to whatever the new tech is and incorporate it in.
And so there are thousands of books on hiring. There's every MBA has gazillion courses on it, and managing people. Everyone talks about it all the time, even on these podcasts. But like, there's not even one book, I don't think, that I've ever heard of on like how do you select vendors? How do you figure out what to buy? There's no MBA courses or even CS courses on it. Yet it literally is the most important skill. I don't even think there's a second, even close second, more important skill in business. So it's like, is it you just trial and error or something? And the only people I know who are amazing at like hiring vendors are like they're all it's a super stereotype. They're all these Eastern Europeans. They run like a $200 million company, and it's like a company of one or two people. They're like incredible at stringing together all these vendors somehow, but like they will never teach you because they're so wealthy already. Like they're never gonna like, and it's like their proprietary advantage. Like you can't learn from those people.
Right. So the question now it becomes for us: how do I up level my existing employees to become that? Right?
I don't know. Oh yeah, or maybe you have to have fewer people somehow and spend more time. Or I don't know.
I mean, when we're hiring people now, it's easy to sort of have these questions to be part of the interview process. Sort of say like, how are you doing it? What are you doing? Is
what tools are you using? Right. Yeah, show me the tools, etc. Yeah, watch them code.
Right. But
if you're coding today, you're not using like an AI enabled IDE. Like there's no way I would hire you. Like zero chance I would hire you today. Right.
Exactly. So it's I don't think it's a find and replace. Like I do think it's how the question for a CEO is how do you up level your existing workforce to get there?
How are you personally doing it? Because I struggle with that. I'm trying to spend time on these tools, but like, I don't know, like, it's hard.
This is what we've got. This is what we've got going on. So what I did with my own life is I said, break up your entire day on every percentage that you've got, right? Every percentage of everything you do in your day, work, personal, whatever. And then what are the tools you're using, AI tools that can help you with each of those things? Yes. And there's going to be blanks in there. Like nothing's helping me yet how to shower, but there are opportunity. But
I don't know, like sometimes like in my house, like sometimes I have to wait like multi minutes for my shower to get hot. or
Okay.
something. Maybe there's
Yeah,
like an
sure.
AI tool I could put into my
Maybe.
basement that would
Yeah.
get my shower
Heat it
hot
up.
faster,
Exactly.
or like, or just know that my alarm's coming, so I should like start the shower a little earlier or
Right.
something.
So you break apart your day like that. You fill in the tools that you're using, and then you literally go through each one and say, I'm going to research this and try to find the better tools that I'm not using today in this area to help me with the thing. Like I'm an investor in Superhuman. I use them for my email, but
Yeah.
there's probably 19 other email tools out there that are doing other
By full
things.
disclosure, I'm also an investor in
Oh,
Superhumans.
okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. But maybe there isn't. But like, am I doing what I need to do to stay on top of that? And that's me at a personal level.
Yep.
I'm making my entire executive team do that as well, at least for the percentages of their day that it's work related, and sort of going through their tools. And the
Yep.
nice thing is that there's a lot of overlap. So my head of products might have something that my head of
You
people
learn from each of you, like talk about it.
start
Okay.
sharing it, and then I'm
Yeah.
going and have them do that with their managers and go all the way down.
That's what we need to go. We got to share. What are you doing? How are you doing it? And you get the
Right.
nugget, and then you got to start trying it. And the thing of these
Surfacing
tools
it
is
out.
like they're not that easy to use.
Right.
So it takes actually a lot of training. Like some of these tools, like Superhuman, they won't even let you just like you have to like spend hours training before
I think they do
even let you
now.
use it.
That's the. I think they are now improved on.
Okay,
You're
right.
right. You're right.
But like,
You're
they're
right.
actually hard to use. Like actually using even like ChatGPT well could
Yeah.
take like hundreds of hours of training well, right? It's not
That's
that
right.
easy to use it that well and actually get a lot out of it.
And I do think
and then
that
of
is
course
better.
you train on the tool, and by then like the tool might not even be like that usable anymore. It's like
That's right.
these cursor, like maybe it's like great, but maybe a year from now, like there's something so much better.
That's right. Well, like Replit is my favorite example of that because Replit a year ago was garbage,
Yep.
in my opinion. Today it's actually really good.
Amazing.
So,
Yeah.
so how do you stay on top of even the change within your vendor, let alone
right.
evaluate others? And I do
you
think
have
there's
a
AI
vendor
solutions.
today, you look at one, and just because you evaluate a vendor and either you thought it was good or you thought it was not good or whatever, like 6 months later, like that evaluation may not. Whereas, like if you evaluated a candidate for your company,
right,
6 months ago, like and whatever you thought they were good or you thought they weren't good, and they didn't join your company either way. 6 months from now, you probably still have a similar opinion about them because people don't change as fast as vendors.
Exactly right. So it's an exciting time to be a CEO because like if you can force this change in your business, you're going to see these like outsized returns. But I think also as an individual employee, which I am, like all of us are, am I changing enough to stay on top of this wave into the future?
I don't
so
think
I can be relevant.
Any of us are changing enough. Like I'm certainly not. I don't. You're inspiring me to change more. I gotta do this more.
Good. And too many people say I use ChatGPT every day. That isn't it.
Yeah.
That's not
that's a start. That's better than not using it. Yeah.
That's right.
There's probably too many people who are not using it at all.
Right. And even just choosing models, like there's all sorts of like just things to learn about even how to do that effectively. But it's this, there's this, it feels like the old days, like you're old enough to, I think to of course you like 97, 96, like people are like, I don't need a website.
Like, I remember that. Yeah.
That's the good old days. It's the same moment where people are just like, I got it. I got it already. I got a one-page website. It's like, no, you need to really think about your entire business and how it's going to shift and put in the effort to make it happen.
97, 98, even 99. They're like, I don't need internet at home or something. Like, why would I have an office? Why would I need it at home? Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
So it's just that shift has happened and it's going to get a lot worse. And that's and so for me, if you're not the leader and the expert and the czar in your space in AI today, in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years, you are irrelevant. And you won't be able to get a job because you can't prove that you were. Like you need to be proving it now that you are to get that job 5 years from now.
Yeah, or you'll be forced to start a company because like I think you will. There are probably so many people today that make X dollars that I think within a year or two they are not going to be able to get a job for even X over 2.
Right.
Like literally like that. So it is going, whereas there's other people who make X today and like a year or two from now, they might make 10X.
Right.
But it's a way smaller number that are going to go from X to 10X, and a way larger number is going to go from X to X over 2. These office workers they're going to have a harder time as this world changes.
Right. Like I may have an engineer or a product marketer or a customer success person come in and say, hire me because I am 20. I'm my whole job. I already figured out how to automate the job that you're hiring for. I'm going to
Yes.
be that. And I'm going to run 20 agents that will do work 24/7. And that's going to be my function, is making sure those agents stay on task to get stuff done. Am I going to hire that person?
I want to hire that person right now.
I'd hire that person.
Nobody pitches that. Like, why do that's what you should pitch? Like, you should like send send these things in. Yeah, that's exactly right. But that's incredibly difficult to do. And
Sure.
And maybe if you could do it, like, why would you want to work for me? You should just go work.
Go do that.
Exactly. They're smarter than me, clearly. So that's another. It's just like very hard to find those people. These like super proactive type of things. Now in the data world, you've got these like, there's kind of like, in some ways, like the way we think about data is that there's truth. So this is like what happened in the past. In some ways, like that's what like kind of like traditional Crunchbase has been, right?
Yeah.
And then there's religion, which is what will happen in the future, right? Which is what you were just talking about. Here's the companies that will, be selling. Here's the companies like there's some sort of prediction. It sounds like what you're saying is that religion will be more valuable than truth.
Has to be. It has to be. And now the tricky part of all that, of course, is tell me any prediction engine you've ever seen that's good.
Yeah, they're terrible.
They're almost all of them are terrible, right?
Yeah.
But that's changing. And like in our case, we have 95% precision. It's hard to even believe it's that good because we have all these like little secrets that make it easy to figure out, but no one else has access to it. They don't think that way. But so the user has to start believing it, and the user has to saying, I'm going to put my business like future into the hands of a company that's predicting stuff when I have a history of not believing in predictions. Like that's our challenge. When the prediction is good enough. But I would way rather place my bets on that company that's placing the one that has like, we're just going to get another, like we're on top of the right size of funding rounds. That doesn't matter anymore.
It's interesting. Historically, the religion companies have had a tough time. Like they've been super competitive because like real religions, it's like, well, everyone believes if you believe a certain thing and someone else will think you're going to hell, or, it's like you say you're a Bayesian, I hate Bayesians. Well, then it's off right there. Right. Or some sort of thing. And the only way that any of these religion companies have ever become big companies is if they've kind of like crossed the chasm from religion to currency. And then it's like, well, people actually don't really believe in the religion, but like everything that's priced like a FICO, maybe people don't even believe in the FICO score, but they price it's the currency. It's in every single loan.
Exactly.
So therefore, you have to trade in FICO scores. It's almost like the U.S. dollar in a way, and so therefore the company becomes super valuable. But how do you go from like religion where you could have like thousands of religions, right, to like, okay, this is the canonical one that we're all going to agree with, and that company, like, because you don't want to have like thousands of competitors either, right?
I mean, at the end of the day, it does come down to proof is in the pudding. The nice thing about predictions is someday they come true. So you can now, so I can show it's not just a faith-based thing. Then it is now this thing where like, look, we have proven time and time again, like in our case, how we talk about it is in April, 600 of our predictions came true. So we were able to go and say, these companies got acquired, or they got funding. What was that worth? Had you missed? Had you known that, because you missed it? What did you miss out on that? Like for you doing deals, if you miss out on the hot company, that company sells for $5 billion. Your ROI on not buying Crunchbase is very, very clear. And then it will become, if we do get competitors that in that space, we'll go and say, well, here's our accuracy rate in the last 6 months. Let's compare. And the best one, let the best one win. And that's where we feel really good, because no one else has any in the now data that unless they're somehow getting into the process itself before it happens, which is unlikely to happen. There isn't a lot of data that does happen that can help these predictions beyond historical data, except for usage.
The best prediction algorithm would be the one that, because they predicted it, caused
the thing to happen or something.
Well, I've already been accused of that. So like one of the theories is you might get more term sheets because once we start thinking that you're getting a funding round, we're going to raise the visibility of your company up to a broader set of investors, which will get you more inbounds, which will get you more term sheets.
Yeah.
So we might be maybe just having the prediction that we think you're going to get acquired might help you actually get acquired, which makes our predictions come true, which is okay by us.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Then that's where it becomes maybe really valuable or something.
Exactly.
Now, there are many, I know many truth data companies who are kind of doing what you're doing and are kind of like investing in religion or pivoting to religion. Like, what advice would you give those companies?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be something around like what I started off this conversation with is what is the defensible moat, and don't lie to yourself. I think too many people call too many things a moat that are not moats. And if you don't have one, if you can't find one, you need to pivot the company into finding one. Like that, that should be the only purpose.
Yeah.
If that isn't, it's again, too many people, like a lot of people, I've done it. I've said Crunchbase brand is our moat. It's like trying to start a new LinkedIn tomorrow. Like you can't go and be another Crunchbase. Like there's already one. I don't know if that's true anymore. So I'm not going to rely on that moat. Even though it may be true, that may be a moat for the next 50 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to rely on it. And I would encourage those data sort of truthers to go and say, go and find your religion.
And one of the weird stories about Crunchbase is it was originally part of TechCrunch, then it got bought by kind of like Verizon, like kind of thing, and and then eventually it got spun out into a new company. You were kind of there as the founding CEO. Emergence kind of came in. There are probably a lot of companies like that where that could happen. They're kind of like orphans somewhere. They've got a good brand. They've got something. The bigger company's not going to invest in it, A, because they don't want to lose money, B, because they can't necessarily like attract the talent who needs equity and other types of things to invest in it. Have you seen more of these things, like these kind of spin-offs happen like Crunchbase? And what advice would you have for people who want to think about that?
I haven't seen it. I've had people talk to me about it. Like I've had people reach out and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about spinning out this department or something." And because I've done it before, like I'm one of the people they call. But I never see it actually happen.
It doesn't happen often. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, it's pretty rare.
It is complicated.
It is. Yeah. Like and this is where Emergence was great, who helped with the spin out, like just to drive that forward. It was a complicated process and they handled a bulk of it. The reality is if I was thinking about doing that today, again, ask these same questions. Are you just walking into are you a dead person walking because you're walking out into a world that's about to change and make that great idea that you have not actually that great? If you have real conviction that that's a good idea, it's find a great investor who's going to help you spin it out, right? Because they're going to make it a real case. Like you need to find, like having Emergence. Had we not had Emergence, that just never would have happened, honestly. So you need to have that really credible investor who's willing to take that gamble with you. And that can be, that's maybe where you should be spending all of your time, is helping find the partners who are going to help make it happen. Try my best advice.
So many companies, Crunchbase and so many other companies did raise a lot of money over the last few years, partially because they could raise it was easier, as you mentioned, 2021 to go raise money. Do you wish you raised less? Do you think some of these companies should have raised less? Like, how do you think about it?
I mean, the world today is different than the world yesterday. The world today, raise as little as possible. If you don't need to raise it all, don't raise. I mean, that's just good advice. Back in our day,
maybe you had no choice.
I mean, there was few choices. Like there was a lot of work to be done. Again, a lot of people think Crunchbase is just a user generated content data thing. It used to be in 2014 when we spun out. That now is user generated content is like 5% of the data that comes in. It's an important 5%, but then all these data pipelines we had to build, we had to rebuild the entire thing from scratch. We all these different inputs that are coming in, like that takes a lot of work. And then the data science itself, in the last few years was incredibly expensive for us to try to figure out how to do, with multiple data engineering scrum teams, with data scientists, like all focusing and working on this very hard problem of predicting the future. Could I have done that without the funding? Maybe, but it would have taken us 10 more years to get there.
Yeah.
And by then, who knows if we would have been totally disrupted already. So I'm glad we did when we did, because we wouldn't have been so well positioned when this stuff started shifting in 2022 to be able to go and be where we are today in 2025. But I wouldn't recommend someone do it again, honestly.
What would you recommend? So there are a lot of companies right now that are good companies. They're doing 20 million in revenue, 10, 20 million in revenue. They're making a decent profit, making a few $1 million in profit, but they raised a whole bunch of money, and they're never going to be worth the old valuation that they had. They might be worth more than they raised.
Yeah,
they raised 50 million. They might be worth 70 million today, but they might not be. They may raise 50 million and worth 45. Today. Like, what advice would you have for the company? What advice would you have for the investors who invest in the company, for the founders that run that company, et cetera?
I mean, I am very doom and gloom on this, so I don't know if people are going to love my advice here. I am
shut it down.
If they can't find that moat, I think the Grim Reaper is coming from them anyway. So now it's an opportunity cost question. And if you can get any value out of the business, I would pursue it. Like that.
But like none of the investors are going to be like, they're all, especially the company's profitable, like, well, I want my money back, so don't sell for. I don't want 50 cents on the dollar usually. Though sometimes they still do it, or.
Yeah, I mean, I think that attitude starts to change too when market starts getting disrupted, like truly gets disrupted here. When AI builds these tools, and the story is AI just wiped out these companies because it just wouldn't have built it. Like I think investors are like, I'll take 50 cents.
Yeah, but by then they may only be able to get 20 cents.
That's right.
Or something.
So
it seems like a lot of investors I know, it's like they've got these 10-year orphans. They're just waiting. They're not being proactive. The founders aren't being proactive. The founders aren't incented anyway. So they're not going to sell because they have no incentive to sell. Right.
Yeah.
So it's
those are just zombie companies, and that's the boardroom conversation.
There's so many of those.
Yeah, there are, and that's the scary thing of how our whole industry is about to change. Is I don't think they stay zombies, because I think the customers go away, unless again there's some moat that protects that industry, but most won't, because a lot of those companies, those $10 to $20 million companies that can't grow, they're often workflow. We help you do this job a little bit better. And I think those companies are done. So maximize the value when you can.
Yeah. I agree with you. I just don't think the VCs are going to do it. I mean, the VCs seem to be doing many things wrong right now.
Right. I'm not. If I was a VC, I would be taking a extremely different approach to this whole market, because you're right. Like the people don't want to accept the truth, but I don't think the truth is going to wait for them.
Yeah. Well, partially they want to accept the truth because they're raising their next fund. They don't want to take the write down right now. Right. So I'll take the write down in a year from now after I raise it.
Exactly.
All right, this is great. A couple personal questions we ask all of our guests. What is a conspiracy theory that you believe?
I don't even know if this is a conspiracy theory anymore, honestly, but like I'm a big believer that covert AGI already exists.
Covert AGI.
That's right.
Just walk us through this. Okay. Yeah.
So let's, everyone has ever said the military is always years ahead of us in tech, right? Like and
they did.
100%. Like
anyone I know who's ever been in the military, no, they've never said that. Yeah.
But I've got to believe that China, Russia, and the U.S. have at least programs. Let's just agree that they're trying to figure out how to use AI to go and further their cause. And they've been working on this way longer than most folks know, and probably have access to stuff that we maybe even illegally have taken access of things to go and build further with deeper resources, spend a ton of money. $40 billion investment. Like maybe that's nothing compared to what's been invested behind the scenes. And so do I think AI is already affecting like public policy? Do I think that certainly it's driving propaganda and driving these bots? Like, do we really think there's just some folks going and coding up some bots to go and make mass sort of inputs on comments to go and drive public opinion? No, like there's probably a really well thought out plan hiding behind some of this to go and start influencing things in a certain direction. And
I love this conspiracy because I'm so skeptical of it. Just like anytime I've done any type of software AI data thing inside a government, it's just so frustrating. And
it may not be ours. Like there's a good chance that we're not
it's possible somebody else is more competent.
Like if I had to place my money, do I think China is doing that already? Absolutely.
Well, I definitely think they're trying. Whether they're good at it or not, I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah,
but I agree. I agree. They're probably spending a lot of money on it, trying to do it.
A lot of money.
Why would you not? Yeah.
Right. And so is AI already affecting public policy? Is AI already making wartime decisions or investments in tech? Like there's all sorts of interesting areas here.
Certainly, I mean, there's been this whole trope that like, Renaissance Technologies, developed this AI for a very long time, and they've been, using it to trade and stuff like that. And that makes sense to me. Like,
well, you're okay with that, but like a government with infinite resources can't do that.
Yeah, I know the people at Renaissance, and they're just extremely
really
smart. Yeah, and very, very capable people. And then they have motivations, and there's not a lot of bureaucracy there, and they all get to see each other's work and stuff. So. When you get to government, there's just so much bureaucracy. It's so much like need to know. It's just hard to collaborate, and you got
our government. That's true. I just feel like
I'm pretty confident that the Chinese government has a ton of bureaucracy as well.
Sure.
Yeah. But you're right. There might be some tiger team somewhere.
A tiger team of like
Shenzhen
500,000
that's
people
doing a great job.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. You might be right. I mean, I bet I'm sure they're trying. So it's a good point. All right, last question we ask all of our guests: what conventional wisdom or advice do you think is generally bad advice? And you can't say follow your passion, because like 90% of people have been saying that, and I'm like banning that answer.
Yeah, that's fine. I wonder how many people have said don't go to school. I'm a big like don't go to school.
Don't go to school. Okay.
School is
school
done.
Meaning primary school. Or?
I mean, honestly, it's as soon as you can stop, you should. Like and a lot of people are, the social, all my best friends, blah blah blah. But from a skills standpoint, you are learning nothing in school, and I would argue this may be the last generation where. People even go to college. That may be too bold, but it's definitely going to be massively declining for the kids that are born today, whether they're going to go to school or not. Because there's what is the reason they're going to school? What are the skills they're learning, and are those skills applicable in the workforce? So the answer becomes none. That there is no reason because it's not going to help me in my job. I think.
Well, I think it does depend if you're already wealthy, like your parents are already wealthy, then it's like fun. It's like great. It's like, it's not, it's like, it's super fun. And it's like, it's great. And so I could see a great reason to go learn about all this stuff and meet with super smart people. And then of course, just like, you might meet your spouse there, and, it's like dating's fun and parties and everything like that. And you get to drink a lot and, all these other things.
College is the new
games. Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, that is, if you think of college as a bundle, right? Like one of the biggest bundles is social interaction, dating, finding people, all this other stuff. Are you actually going to learn something in college? I don't know that people ever went there that much for learning anyway. And then of course the piece of paper, and what you're saying is the piece of paper is going to be less valuable.
All of it is there's no reason. Now, if you're doing that, go to your local community college. Like it doesn't make sense to go and do it. And I think
and plus you have a right now we already have a great tutor. I'm already using these AI tools to tutor me and stuff like that. It's so much better if you want to learn about, if you're willing to just spend some time with it. If you want to learn about the Peloponnesian War, like you will learn so much faster using it as a tutor than you will from like some sort of course.
That's right. So what is like, and you say now, well, what about creative thinking? AI can't do creative thinking. I'm a believer that creative thinking is on the roadmap.
Yeah. Well, I think it already does. Yeah.
Does an okay job.
As much as a human. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
So I think the kids are going to get pushed as like, go start your company as soon as you can. If the smartest chess players are done by 29, like you got to be doing your brilliant business idea in your late teens. AI will enable you to do that by the time that they're actually in their teens.
Yeah. Now how do you think about it with your own family? Like,
well, I have no kids, that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
But if I were to have kids, I would be trying to push them into, start a company and get to 10 million revenue and sell it really fast. Sell it while you still can and live off that money. Like,
do something, build a trade, or just do something, just whatever it might be that's out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Art, I think will be one of the last ones to go. So now is maybe the time, especially if you're in a wealthier class.
I think art's the fastest one that's gone. It's literally been what? Really? It's amazing.
It depends on what we're talking about. Like, depends what we're talking about. Like, are we going to hear a top 40 song come out of AI that will become popular? Absolutely.
Yes,
are we going to go
100% in the next 12 months? That will happen.
Yeah, that's happening. Do I think we're going to go to a museum filled with AI art and just marvel in the beauty? I'm just a little bit more skeptical. But has it been possible?
Does anyone actually ever go to museums today at their home?
I went to a museum like a couple weeks ago. What are you talking about?
You went to a museum in your home city?
Oh,
or you were visiting another city?
I was visiting our city.
When you're visiting Rome, you have nothing to do. That's what you're supposed to do when you visit another city. But like, no one actually goes to museums. They go to a museum when they visit another city, which means they don't really go to the museum. It's like the checklist that you do. I'm in Amsterdam, so I'll go to the Rijksmuseum or something.
Fair enough. But I don't see the AI museum except for a novelty. I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Yeah. I went to an AI museum in London, and it was terrible, I have to say. But guess what? All museums are terrible. That's my controversial opinion. Right. Like, they're all there. Like the MoMA, it's like so boring. It's like
I can't follow you there.
Okay. All right. Well, this is great. Thank you, Jager McConnell, for joining us on World of DaaS. I follow you at Jager McConnell on X. I definitely encourage our listeners to engage with you there. This has been a ton of fun. Very fun, very controversial, and I really enjoyed the conversation.
It's good times. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to World of DaaS wherever you consume your podcasts, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and more. And please help us get discovered by leaving a review. And check out worldofdaas.com. That's worldofdaas.com. And of course, connect with me on Twitter at Auren. That's AUREN. Would absolutely love to hear from you.